Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got a look at the Tier 6 Russian cruiser Shchors. Got Kuznetsov on the screen here. You can see I got him up to 14.1. 14.2 is what I consider functionally maxed. To get him up to Legendary 3, it takes 11 total commendations, which is a lot. To get him up to level 2, though, I think it's 3 or 4 commendations total, 4. So not as big of an issue there. So I almost have him what I would consider maxed, and that gives you pretty good leveling in terms of that tier 3 perk, the IFHE type perk, which increases the HE shell's penetration, which is what you want with these light cruisers, but kind of reduces the damage. Now the higher you get that up, the less it reduces the damage, so that's what you kind of want to get if you're really trying to put a lot of points into this line, in my opinion. Got a game on Two Brothers here, and this map is either horrible or pretty fun, depending on what your team does. If your destroyers go in spot, like mine is on the wing, then you can have a pretty good time in this map. If they all go toward the middle and then do nothing for 3 minutes as they sail to the other side, and then die the second they get over there, then you're screwed. So, unfortunately, this is really dependent on what your destroyers do. You also notice there's a lot of battleships, and this is kind of the dream lineup for these Soviet cruisers, especially the higher tier ones. Shchors, Shapayev, and Kutuzov. A lot of HE coming out of these things. Very accurate. Good range. I got 17.5 on mine. I don't typically spec my cruisers out for max range, but that's by far the longest range I have on any of my builds. Their destroyers advanced very quickly and got spotted. We want to do what we can to get rid of those. Like we were just talking about a moment ago, the destroyers are extremely important on this map to spot the ships that are going to be playing behind the cover, kind of like in the positions we're in. So if we can get those ships whittled down or eliminated early, that's going to be a massive advantage here. Now the long and short of the Shchors is if you can stay alive and keep in position to be doing damage, this thing will pump out the damage, as we're going to see in this game here. But I very rarely get one shot in my cruisers. Happens, I don't know, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. This thing I've gotten blasted from full health to 0 health at least 3 times grinding this, and I'm not even completely done grinding it yet, but the size of the ship is huge, and the Citadel's just a smidge smaller than the actual ship. I mean, it's very easy to get deleted in this thing, and due to a 900 meter turning circle like you got on this thing, which is by far the largest at the tier, it's very easy to get caught in bad situations. So map awareness is your mantra, and not getting blasted basically anywhere. It's very thinly armored too, so even if you're angled against battleships, they can blow you out of the water. You just can't be taking shots. So positioning, especially using cover behind islands, extremely important. You can get away with open water dodging at very, very long ranges. Your shells will get down range to them a lot quicker than theirs will get to you in general, which is an advantage. But keep in mind, if you're relying strictly on dodging, you could have a lot of issues here. Now I have this set up, slot 2. I got the steering gears mod. We got lucky there. That could have been a kill shot. To give you a bit more turnability. And slot 3, I got concealment, primarily for the incoming dispersion. I think it's a 5% increase to incoming dispersion on that. The concealment's fine, but we're only down to 12.2, which on my builds is by far the highest. I got a lot of my cruisers down below 10 using Makawa and other concealment, you know, the concealment mod and so on and so forth. But this ship, you're going to be spotted, you know, the enemy has line of sight. But you'll notice we've killed their destroyers, and now this is why you want to kill the destroyers, or why the destroyers are so important on Two Brothers. Because I can use this island now, I'm not going to get spotted, and these battleships, they want to push in, they want to do something, they know the side's already in trouble. But when you have constant HE raining down on you as a battleship, it's very hard to push in, and basically pushing in, you're going to get yourself killed. So you can see these ships were thinking about pushing in, but due to the rain of fire that me and my team are providing in their direction, it's just not going to happen. They got to get out of there and disengage. Other stats on the ship, I got 35.5 for speed of mine. That's pretty good for the tier. It's, I think, second best. And the rudder shift, I got it down to 7.1. That's pretty high. That's on the high side. But yeah, 17.5 in range, 8-second reload, 25-second turret traverse, which isn't too bad. And then the HE damage, 2,700 with a 14.5 fire starting chance and 3,400 on the AP damage. We'll see the AP damage come into play on some battleships coming up here. Torps, you're not going to get them in the water very often. You got a 4-kilometer range, but they do have 70 knot speed. So if a ship puts itself in a position where they're rushing you, or you get an ambush opportunity around an island, if you get those torps in on the target, 70 knots is very hard to deal with. So, and they're pretty decent damage. You got 15,100 max damage on these. So, again, you don't want to be going in search of opportunities to be using these torps, but if the situation arises once in a blue moon, they can be a little bit tricky for the enemy to deal with. And the Nagato, you can see by the time he was able to turn around and begin fleeing, he just has no chance. And we're already up to 80k damage, and they still have 6 ships left. So, and you know, most of them are cruisers or battleships. So, they're in a bit of an issue on this flank. Now, you know, we haven't really been able to push forward at all on the opposite flank. They're kind of cycling around. And so we got to keep an eye on that. And they're also attempting to put some ships up through the middle here. So we're just going to back up. We want to support that. The enemy team might be panicking a little bit, even though they're only down 1 ship. But they're recognizing, hopefully, that our team can swing around the western side of the map and begin putting pressure on them from multiple angles. So a few of them are going up the gut. And we'll see how that turns out for them. I don't generally ever like to play up the gut like that, but once in a while a situation will arise. I don't think, looking at the map, that this is a good situation for them. You got to win at least one of these sides and be able to defend your base and put pressure on the enemy base simultaneously. This is probably the hardest map for a lot of people to play, and it's kind of team dependent. Z23 is attempting to slow down and smoke. And we should talk about the radar. I think it's 9.1 range on the radar. So as soon as we're in a position where our guns are going to clear over there, we're going to consider popping that radar and getting that Z23 off the map. A little bit slow on the uptake here. Looking at it, there we go. Actually, we didn't end up popping it yet. He just kind of squirted through his own smoke. Gets spotted again, so we're able to put some shots on there. And then as he backs up, I think we're going to get that radar going. And it's a pretty good distance radar. Again, short duration, so it's good if you're in a division. You want to let your team know that you're about to pop it so that people can keep their guns trained in the area, get those ships down, because you don't have a lot of time to deal with them. But it's kind of comparable to like a Baltimore, which is a higher duration radar, but you got slower reload on your gun. So in Baltimore, for instance, you usually get about 2 salvos off. This one you get about 2 salvos off as well. It's just kind of, is your team ready for it or not to capitalize? And you'll notice there, as that ship died, I noticed that one of my shells hit, so we had a clue that the turret was coming around the corner there, or coming through that smoke. He's also more or less perfectly broadside to us, and he's pretty close range, so we popped over to the AP. Now he is angling in a little bit here, but the Iowa remains kind of broadside and close range, so we switch over to him. And check out some of these totals. We'll be getting 5-6k damage on a lot of these salvos. And again, we're not trying to aim right at the waterline, which is typically more heavily armored on a lot of battleships, but we're trying to hit the upper hull and get shots mixing into there and the superstructure. And a lot of damage coming off this thing in a very short order. Get the torps down there just more as a distraction factor. Again, we don't have the range on that target right there. As soon as the angle's in, then we switch over to the HE again. But you saw the AP salvos there. Looked like we got about 30k, 25, 30k damage in very short order. And those ships, most ships are just going to assume you're going to be spamming HE the entire time. And you can do that, and you can get a lot of damage doing so, combined with the HE damage itself and the fires. But look for those AP opportunities. Cruisers, it's a no-brainer. If you get a closer range cruiser broadside to you, just go ahead and switch to the AP. That's a really nice thing about these light cruisers with the short reload. You can kind of actively switch your shells without too much, detriment to yourself. Iowa's flipped completely around again, and he's broadside to us again, so we get back onto the AP. And his attention isn't focused on us. If his guns were pointed here, we'd want to be behind this island. We cannot take a shot from the Iowa at this angle. That's an almost guaranteed kill shot. But because he's distracted, we're able to pump out the damage there. Turpit's coming around again, and we're going to stick with the AP at least initially until we can get a read on exactly what it's doing. And you can see we're up 3 ships to 2, which is a little bizarre since it seems like our team's been doing pretty well, but they're kind of rapidly melting here at the end. Secondaries are coming in, which is a bit of a threat. We don't want to sit there taking that sustained damage for too long, but Turpitz is almost done here. HE's the shell as he angles away, and that should finish him off. Now, this is kind of an interesting situation here where we're up on the score, but they've spent some time in the base, and they can kind of rapidly catch up with the score. Now, they have a Shchors on their team. I think he's relatively full health here. What I kind of need the Lightning to do is spot for this guy, but not get spotted. And he needs to stay out of this radar range of that ship. That needs to be his main focus, not getting spotted. You can see here our Richelieu's about to die, so once he does, you'll see how tight the score is. And we're actually in quite a bit of a danger of losing this game, which was unfortunate and a little bit frustrating right here at the end. You'll see I'll be spamming this guy to get back the Lightning on my team because he's a little too reckless. He either doesn't know that Shchors has radar or he doesn't respect it. But I'm primarily thinking about playing defensively, winning on score, but due to the fact that the Lightning is this close to this guy, he's within his radar range, I can't abandon him. If I turn around and that destroyer dies, we lose the game on score. So I gotta do some damage to the enemy's Shchors here while he's spotted. We shoot the plane down, which is nice because now we're not going to get spotted due to that, and we can fire on this guy without taking return fire. Try some AP there. That's a little long range. The Russian cruiser AP seems to do pretty well at range. It doesn't seem like it has a massive drop-off like a lot of the shells do, but we're just going to be watching those indicators that pop up. Really unfortunate there. I mean, we did very little damage while that guy was spotted. We had the advantage where he couldn't shoot back at us, and we could have really evened up the game in terms of my ship's health versus his ship's health, or even, taking the advantage in that situation. But now the Lightning's popped the smoke, so we don't have line of sight on him, and he needs to get the hell away from that ship. Just sitting there waiting for him to push in. That Shchors can kill that Lightning very quickly, and then it's going to be up to me in a situation where I got to one-on-one him, and in a ship like the Shchors, which is fairly brittle, that's a little dicey. Now you can angle decently against enemy cruiser AP. Like I mentioned earlier, battleship AP, it doesn't matter what angle it hits you at. If it glances off of you, your ship just explodes in a glorious ball of flames. As he pops back up here, you can see he's basically the same health as when we first spotted him, which is unfortunate. That means I just wasted my opportunity to deal some damage when I had the advantage there. Now he's able to return fire here, though, so we're going to try and move around, dodge some of these shots. And this is just kind of a numbers game at this point. Who can do the most damage in the smaller amount of time? Again, he has the advantage here. He's got about a 8 to 10k health lead on me. The Lightning's trying to torp him. I mean, he's very close there. I'd be surprised if he's not spotted at that point. The Shchors should kill him first and then try and deal with me. You can go back and forth on that one. That's a tough question, but he needs to get the hell out of there. I mean, this was really making me kind of mad at this point. Look at it, he's trying to torp cruisers. Get that out of your playbook, destroyer players. It's a very low percentage option. I mean, torps are not high percentage plays to begin with, but maneuverable ships, even though the Shchors isn't the most maneuverable cruiser, it can certainly turn away. And if he knows he's there, as he clearly does because the guy's been smoking nonstop, all you gotta do is just change your course every couple seconds and you'll never hit those ships. So if he wants to sit there in the smoke, shoot your goddamn guns. I mean, this is just watching this back is getting me kind of pissed off. Here he finally makes a mistake and goes broadside, and that's going to cost him his life there. So, a bit of a misplay there. He actually probably could have won that game had he just stuck with angling and shooting HE at me. But that's a look at the Shchors. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.